It feels good to be awake. It also hurts to be awake. The more you are, the more everything sucks around you. And sometimes I find myself being like, you're a killjoy. Because I'll be doing something, I'll be watching something, I'll just be like, colonization. And everybody's like, just enjoy the movie.
Parenting's hard, you don't know what to do. You're blaming your kids, but it's probably you. You love your kids and that you can trust. Just remember your kids don't suck.
Welcome to Your Kids Don't Suck, cultivating closeness with your children through non-coercive conscious parenting. We're your hosts, Kara Tedstone and Rythea Lee. Let's dive in and grow together.
So before I just even welcome people, I just want to ask you: do you feel comfortable with me referring to what's happening in this moment as a fascist takeover? Is there anything you feel unsafe about me saying?
No.
Okay. All right. Good morning and welcome back to Your Kids Don't Suck, a podcast where we rigorously explore our own triggers, our process, so that we can be parents who are open and present and loving. And today we have Yolanda Williams, who is someone I really admire and follow, and her podcast really changed my life. Welcome, Yolanda.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Do you mind if I read your bio?
Go ahead, girl.
Okay, I just think it's good to just put you in a context. Yolanda Williams is a conscious parenting coach, social justice instructor, and most importantly, a single mom to one amazing daughter. Yolanda empowers parents with tools to be more intentional, conscious parents in order to raise the next generation of emotionally well, liberated, free thinkers, and in the process form deeper, more intentional relationships with their children. Through her podcasts, conferences, webinars, and writings, Yolanda curates critical and candid conversations about race, social justice, and parenting. Yolanda provides coaching and DEI training for educators.
Yeah, I wrote that a while ago without AI, might I add. And some stuff has changed. I had my podcast, Parenting Decolonized, but and I keep getting people asking me like, when are you coming back? But as you know, having a podcast is a lot of work.
Yeah, how many years did you have the podcast?
I think like two and maybe like 2.5. I mean, there's a good amount on there.
There is. Yeah.
It's just the new ones. I was just like, I can't. I'm gonna take a break, and I don't know when I'm coming back, and that's okay.
Yeah, it is because you're onto other things, I'm sure. Do you want to say what's happening with you right now?
Well, I talked about it a little bit on the podcast and like on my social media. But I am building a farm out here in central Arkansas. And the goal is to build out this farm and help feed people. Arkansas is number one in food insecurity. Help feed people, in the county, and really just have a space for my daughter. It's really for her. She's autistic, and I really just want to make sure I have a space for her to always have a home, not have to ever worry about working for it, paying rent, that kind of stuff. So my big goal is just to create a really safe space for her.
How's it going with that?
It's a lot. It's a lot. I got to sue somebody. Like, it's a lot. A contractor, but the thing about it is it just teaches you a lot about yourself and the things that it's kind of like parenting. It's teaching me how impatient I am. It's teaching me that I have to just allow that I can't control. It's teaching me a lot about myself, which is great. And I'm not doing it alone. I have a friend who drove out here from California. She called me and she was like, "What do you feel about me, doing this with you?" And so her and her daughter are out here in Arkansas from California. They've been here since January. She's out here to like we're going to be in a little village together, and that's always been my dream, is to have like a little mini village.
I feel like it's such a victory that you have this land. It's such a victory.
Such a big. I just tell people all the time, like, I don't consider myself highly special person. And I just know that manifesting is real because I dreamed about this for years,
Mm.
years and years and years. And just started like moving in that direction, like this is what I'm gonna do. And then was able to find some land I could afford for sale by owner. So I didn't have to go through a bank.
Wow.
And it just all really worked out the way it's supposed to. And I got a grant from an organization that gives to private like just regular people and not nonprofits. So that's been such a blessing. That's the
Mm,
way I'm able to move this year, is because I'm able
mm.
to have this extra money.
Wow. Intention.
Intention. You have to take intentional action. And that goes for everything, including parenting.
Right. What a great segue. So the reason I asked Yolanda to come on today was because of this moment in history in the United States, but in the world, where fascism is taking over everywhere, and our lives are changing very rapidly. And but even before this happened, one of the main reasons that parents always say they need to control, that they need to be an authority, is because they have to keep their children safe. That is like the main reason that we hear all the time. And now it seems even more true. I have to create all these limits and boundaries for my child and rigorous, I don't know, punishment
Yeah.
because things are so chaotic and out of control. But what we're doing is the exact opposite. And so what does it mean right now in this moment? And I wanted you to talk about it because you're so good at talking about this. And I need you. I need you particularly right now, your thinking and your awareness.
Well, the one thing I really want to impress upon people, I'm sure your audience is mostly white women, is that this is not a new thing for any specifically Black people. This fascism has always been here for us. And so I think that's why you see a lot of us just like, we tried to tell y'all, like, you have to care about more than just yourself. Because if they're going to do it to us, they're going to end up doing it to you. It just might take longer. And so that's point one. Fascism has always been in this country. It just hasn't been so loud, right? It hasn't been so in your face. A lot of people that probably listen to your podcast have felt protected in this country, have felt like a little bit untouchable, and nobody is when the country is built on, the blood of indigenous people on the backs of enslaved people. Like, no one's safe. At the end of the day, this is basically holding up a mirror to what the country has always been. And now people who never really had to deal with this sort of oppression is like, oh, like this is scary. I can't move. I can't do things. I can get detained. I can get arrested without due process. People can just stop me and question me. Yeah, it's called stop and frisk. That was happening a little bit ago. Remember that? So, like, we have to keep that in mind, that none of this is new. And having that understanding has really helped me with my parent coaching, right? Because what I talk about is, particularly with Black parents, why we need to be more conscious parents and decolonize our parenting, because we are training our kids to be okay with fascism. The way that we are parenting now, we're training them to be okay with oppression and to be okay with fascism. And let's not do that no more. let's let's do something different and hard, because it's very scary when you are living in fear all the time, and your children aren't safe, and you know that at any point a cop can come, kill them, and nothing will happen to that cop. So that's always the tightrope that we walk between fear and liberation, is how do I do this living in this, because you have to do it while you're experiencing it. I think now people are trying to figure out, like, how do I do this? How do I live this sort of anti-oppression, liberated lifestyle while also being oppressed by a government?
How do we train our children to be okay with fascism? Can you say more about that?
Yeah. Well, when you think about, again, going back to what you said, the reasons that a lot of people are so strict or are hitting their kids, they're trying to control something. They're trying to control the environment in the best way they know how, because they're living within oppressive systems, right? And so you get these parents who are just like, I just want to keep my kids safe. And the best way to do that is to teach them that authority, listen to authority. Listen to authority. Authority always tells the truth. Authority always knows what's best. So listen to authority. Don't talk back. Don't don't ask too many questions. Like, be seen, not heard. And even though people want to pretend like conscious parents and gentle parents are the majority, we are not. We are still very much not. So the majority of people still practice really oppressive ways of parenting. And they're, at the end of the day, when you whittle it down, they're really just trying to keep their kids safe. When it comes to, like patriarchy, a lot of parents are trying to keep their girls specifically from getting pregnant. Like, I was talking to my cousin about this because she grew up very, very strict. Um, and I was like, it's funny is they tried to protect you from getting pregnant, and all of y'all, my cousins, had kids early because that's what happens because you have no control over those things, right? But parents want to feel like we do, and we feel like we do because we actually do. We have all this control over these little humans who don't have a say, who are very marginalized, who in 19 states teachers can hit them in schools. It's legal for adults to hit them still, not even just their parents, adults in general. It's not assault. And so they're just fully unprotected and dependent on us to tell them like how to live in this world. And so when we tell them like, hey, listen to the authority figures without question, and they do that, they end up being indoctrinated into a system that we're seeing now where people are blindly following someone or blindly following systems and ideas and constructs and not questioning like why not questioning why these rules exist, why these constructs exist, what's the history behind them. And when we teach our children to just go with the flow, just go with what everybody's talking about, they're not going to question anything. But that leads them down a really dangerous path of not knowing who is safe and who is not safe. So we are not just training them for to accept oppression. We are training them to either be abusers or victims of abuse.
Right. And so our kids will not be the resistance. They will not have a voice. They cannot speak up or speak back or fight back if they
Right.
can't do it with us. I think that's the whole point is
Yeah.
if we create that system at home, then they're fully set up to
Right.
participate blindly or the word I use, not being able to see what's happening.
Yeah, and that's scary for a lot of people who once they leave your house, they're in danger because adults are not ready for this. Most adults are not ready. They don't necessarily. I mean, there's a good amount that viscerally hate children. I always say that those people actually hate themselves, and their inner child is
Hmm.
trying to talk to them, but they don't want to listen. They're traumatized. But there's a good subset of adults who just are like, just don't like children. I was one of those people before I had Chia. I could not stand to be around them. Couldn't stand the sound of children laughing. Like, who doesn't like that joy? Me. I couldn't stand it. And once I had my daughter, I realized like that was really just a reflection of how I felt about myself and how I felt about what it meant to be a child and feel like a burden. And adults have this like disdain for children in public, for children just existing. And we have to ask why. We have to really ask ourselves why. Because then, as someone who's raising a liberated child, she goes out into the world and she's unsafe. And it's not just from police, from all the adults, no matter the race or ethnicity. She's unsafe because adults are unsafe and they are not ready for a child who's just like, wait, you can't talk to me like that. You can't put your hands on me. I'm gonna why do I have to do this? I'm gonna question this. They're not ready for that, and they get punished for it. So a lot of parents are on the like always are like, what am I supposed to do? How do I help them navigate this world? Okay, they can do this at home. They can question things at home. They have a voice at home. They can display their emotions at home, but nowhere else. And that's a scary thing to navigate. And that's why we have to be honest with our kids. I've been asking people online, how are you talking to your kids about this current moment? Because they know more than you think they do. And they're paying attention to how we talk about things
Mm.
and to all the stuff. They have little computers in their pockets, a lot of kids. So they're seeing things, they're listening, they're being indoctrinated. And so we have to tell them the truth. And a lot of folks are just like, well, they should just be able to be kids. They're still going to be able to be kids. They're just going to know the truth about their environment. Because if I got called the N word at 11 years old, I would have liked to not had to deal with that as a child, but I did. I had to deal with that. So if Black children and Indigenous children and other people of color have to deal with some of the things we have to deal with, all children can learn about the truth about this country.
What do you suggest to people about talking about it with kids?
There's always age appropriate ways to have this conversation. And I think starting with, the much younger kids, the toddlers, start talking about fairness. Kids That's what they know. That's not fair, right? You give one child something, give the other child. That's not fair. They already have this sort of sense of like fairness and justice.
Mm.
So you can start talking about that. Like, well, explain to them the difference between fair and equity. Kids catch on, man. We don't give them enough credit. They catch
Mm.
on pretty quickly. And
Mm.
then after you can kind of give them that like sort of like fairness, you start talking about skin color, not in the sense of that's a black person, you're a white person. You're just talking about the fact that we all have different skin color,
Mhm.
and sometimes people with this color skin get treated badly by certain people. Like Gia came out, it was like the police came by the school one day, which I hate these days, and she had like this police hat on that she made and everything else. And I snatched the hat off and I gave it back to her teacher, and I was like, we don't pretend like the police are friends in our house. She may not even understand. My daughter is autistic, she has a developmental delay. I don't care. We're talking about the fact that the police are oppressive. A cab. I don't ain't no what is that dog cartoon? We don't do the cartoon with the dog police up in this house. We don't perpetuate lies. And
Mhm.
so she needs to understand from a very young age that being autistic and being black, she is going to be perceived in a certain way. So you can start having these honest conversations. And then as they get older, they're already having them. They're having them with their peers. And so you just have to figure out, ask questions about what they already know, what they already think and believe, because their value systems is being formed. We know that at like, I think it was like what, 11, 12, that the parents are no longer the people that they centrally listen to, it's their peers. And so around that age, you got to start thinking like, okay, they've already formed judgments and values based on the previous 10 years. So what do they know now? What are they listening to now? What are they watching? What are the influences in their lives that will help shift values if you're trying to give them a certain value base, or learn, have new ones, ask them questions. What do you think about this? Like Janelle, Janelle, she goes through Instagram with her daughters, and it's just like, what do you think about these bodies? What do you think about, this hair texture? Like she wants to understand what they're taking in, because
Mm.
colorism and texturism is a really big deal in the Black community. And so she wants to know, like, what do as she's scrolling, what are you noticing about the women that are the
Mm.
most popular? So she can gauge where their mind is already at. Start asking these kids questions so you can know what they think, and don't assume they think like you.
Right. If you're controlling your child, and by the way, I do think that mostly white women listen to my podcast, and also watch my videos, and I think in that demographic, it's covert control. Like a lot of people say, no, I would never hit my kid, I don't yell at my kid, but there's this covert constant commentary and managing criticism and consequences, withdrawing love, withdrawing approval, all the things that we all do. I'm not just saying it's them, I do it too.
Okay.
I fall into it, of course I do. But it's much more, you can convince yourself you're a loving parent because you can, that's the gentle parenting way. You can do it with a smile. You can,
Right.
you can try to teach about oppression, but if at home you're oppressing your child, they're gonna still get it from the way you're
Mhm.
treating them and the way
Mhm.
their rights are being respected or not respected. You can't lecture your child about social justice intellectually and expect them to then be educated about it. It
At
doesn't
all.
work that way. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You can't even sit them down in front of videos and have them watch social justice videos, and then you're oppressing them. You don't know it,
Yeah.
which is why we do this work, because we don't know it. So if you're living in a hypocritical reality in the dynamic in your home, it doesn't matter what you're trying to teach them intellectually,
Yes.
as progressive people do,
Yes. Yes.
you
We have to
know?
model it. Like they have to live that, right? Because
Exactly.
when they're living like anti-oppression in their homes, and then they go out and experience oppression, they can actually be like, oh, like the light bulb is like, wait a minute now. Like, okay, this is what mom was talking about. Because they can feel the difference, they can see the difference, right? If they are, like you said, if they're living in some sort of oppression. And as adults, it's just the way that the system is set up, the way that we would like to be parents. We're set up to fail. We really are. We're not the systems that are in place right now are the antithesis to what we are trying to teach our children. And so we are trying to survive while we're doing this, while we're trying to reparent ourselves and get help for our trauma, and living underneath oppressive systems and working underneath oppressive systems, and then teach our child how to live an anti-oppression lifestyle. That's very difficult. And I don't ever want to take away from that. I don't care, of course there's like hierarchies of difficulties, but it's difficult for everybody because we are being set up to fail. And if you're looking at what's happening, politically right now, they're putting up roadblock after roadblock after roadblock because they want you to fail. They want you to be unhealthy, like hopeless, depressed, angry, because that is the kind of population that's easily controlled. And so we are fighting an uphill battle here to be conscious parents, to be anti-oppressive, to decolonize our minds. It is, well, we're in quicksand trying to just get out of it, and it won't feel easy unless we have a lot of support or unless something drastically changes with our government. Basically, you got to find your people in order to really be able to do this well. Because to try to be isolated, which is also a supremacy culture trait, which is toxic individualism, it'll be the detriment of your parenting. Like I'm experiencing that right now. I don't have a lot of support. So because I'm still living in this apartment, my mother is disabled. I have a sister who can't really help me. My other sister, I really don't want to help me. And so I feel very alone, and I can feel that pressure. I can feel when I'm feeling like, okay, I am a tea kettle at this point. Like if I don't get some help, everyone's gonna listen to me scream. I apologize a lot to Gia because I yell a lot. I get really impatient with her. And it's because I'm trying to do so many things at once by myself.
I see.
And so I always come back and I always apologize and let her know that the way I acted was not right. But it doesn't negate the fact that I acted that way. And I have to always be honest about the way that I'm behaving and why. This is not just a trauma, it's my environment. Sometimes it feels like, well, I can't do anything right when it comes to parenting. A lot of parents will be like, but you can. You won't ever get this right. You won't ever get it perfect. But what you can do is just talk to your kids through it. To see you being a person is really important. Because I don't know about you, but growing up and you deify your parents, that's also detrimental because you're just like, this godlike person doesn't like me, is not ever apologizing to me. That's oppressive, and that's kind of like the indoctrination of authority doesn't have to apologize. Authority is always right. Even when they're wrong, they're always right. They don't have to admit when they're wrong. And I don't want to be that. I want to be a person to my daughter. So I make mistakes. We all will. And we have to be okay with making mistakes throughout this journey, because this idea that, especially this current government, they won't even admit when things are completely, utterly like off the rails. I mean, you got a tweaker standing next to you on ketamine on national TV while you're giving an address in the Oval Office. Like, what is happening? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But they want to be godlike. So they're not going to ever admit to making mistakes. And that is a brainwashing that they're trying to do. Like, no, we can never do no wrong. Look at this guy over here going off on ketamine. Don't look at him. It's okay. He's not there. Come on. It's gaslighting. It's manipulative. It's coercive. And we do that to our kids sometimes if we're not careful.
Yeah. Well, that's the norm.
It is.
A huge part of my coaching of parents is just telling them they're not crazy. I mean, so many people that I talk to are trying to come out of authoritarian patterns. They're trying to come out of coercion.
Yeah.
And they feel like they're crazy. Like they feel like nobody agrees with what they're doing. Everyone in their family around them judges them, their extended family, their parents, their friends. They think they're being permissive, of course, that they should be doing more. And so much of my job is just validating, look, you're doing something that's completely out of the box, that's completely opposite of what we're taught parenting is. It's the opposite of what is considered good parenting. You'll get rewarded the more you control your kid. The more polite your kid is, the more, people will praise you. And so it's like really stepping off of like
Yeah,
it's so, so hard. It's so
it's so
hard.
hard.
And that's the support thing.
We're rewarded for being bad parents, you know?
Yes.
Oh, look at that kid, that's how kids should act, and the kid is sitting there like a robot. People really are just like, you know, we I don't dislike kids, I don't like bad parents. Well, you think a bad parent is someone who lets their child question them. Like, I
Right.
can't even trust what you think is a good parent because you don't know. Because nobody knows because a lot of people haven't seen it. You don't even know what it is. Society, to be a good parent means your child listens, doesn't talk back, sits down, doesn't make any disruptions in public. That's
Right.
not a child. Children are loud. Sometimes they're messy, and they deserve to be in public just like you. Right, but that's a
Mhm.
hard concept for people who were told their whole lives that children don't matter. So they're just parroting what they experienced. That's why I said it's really scary to send your child out into that. The child who's able to come home and, you ask them to do the dishes and they're just like, "Can you give me a moment?" If people hear that, you're just like, "Wait a minute. What did that child say to you?
Right.
If you can get up right now? Wait a minute. No, she's busy and she can finish up what she's doing because the
Mhm.
dishes can be done in 10, 15 minutes. What's the problem? Right? But
Yeah.
that's the control. It's not even just like I'm going to keep you safe. That is I am the adult and you do what I say right now. And that's what a lot of people believe is good parenting. And so yeah, there's a lot of deconstructing that has to happen. A lot of shedding of what you thought, what you've been indoctrinated to think, and it's very difficult to do while you are being judged.
Yeah, and also parents get so, so triggered all the time. I
Mhm.
mean, we are triggered all the time.
Constantly.
I feel really close to my daughter. She's 13, by the way.
Oh
I feel
wow.
really I feel really close to her, and we're hitting this point where the my influence is waning, like her focus is her friends
Right.
and all of and it's changing, and that is triggering the crap out
Mhm.
of me. To like lose influence over her is bringing up so much for me. And I just want to make this as personal as possible. Like, I had a mom who couldn't bond with me. So I never went through the normal, like, growing up. I mean, we didn't have something I had to like grow out of. I didn't get to like really attach and then learn how do you grow into your own person in a healthy way. Like, I didn't have either.
Yeah.
So doing this with my daughter, it's like completely new. I have no map for it.
Really foreign. You gotta find your people who have been through this, and if parenting the way you're parenting, that could help you through it because it can't be easy just to watch. I mean, you see them and they're so small, and then all of a sudden you're just like, when are you almost taller than me? And then they're not talking to you the same way, like they're moving away from you. And
Yes.
then, so it just feels very like I'm losing something.
That's how it feels.
I'm
Thank you.
there's a loss, the grief there. I'm
Yeah.
losing this child. And of course it's a shift. It's not a loss, but it feels that way. And that's okay for it to feel that way. Especially she's the only child, right?
She's an only child, yes.
Yeah, so me too. So I'll be there in about geez, what's 8 this year? So, a few years.
Oh, she's
um
8 already. I still think of her as a little kid.
I know, me
Wow.
too. It's hard to watch them grow up, especially, I was single, well, I am a single mom, and I just realized how distracted I was a lot of her, like, younger years because I had to work so much. I could
Mhm.
not be present physically at all. I did the best that I could, but I really just had to work. And she was home with me for, the first 3 years of her life. I just couldn't be there, and I remember my mom was over and I had this long baby gate that would separate the two of me and Gia because I had to work and she wanted to be like inside, unzip me and like climb in. And I just
Yeah.
couldn't. I was in a customer
Yeah.
service job and I had to be on the phone. And so
Mm.
I just needed space. And my mom was over and I'm trying to take calls and Gia's screaming in the background. And my mom was looking at me, ignore her because what am I supposed to do? I have to work. And she's like, I think you need to quit this job. And I was like, so defensive,
Mm,
best I can. How dare you? And she was like,
mm,
you're ignoring her all day.
mhm, mm,
Like, how is this beneficial? And this coming from my mom was a lot for me from the way that I grew up. So I was just like, okay. But I thought about it and she was absolutely right. And this is when I first started Parenting Decolonized. I got one of those EIDL loans for my business to start. And they sent me $10,000. And that's why I was like, I'm going to quit this job because I have $10,000. And I quit
mm.
and started Parenting Decolonized and was
Oh,
able to spend more time with her. But then
wow.
she which she did really well in, but still like I realized like, okay, I have to do something different because I can't allow this survival mode to make me into a neglectful parent. I just couldn't do it. I really look back sometimes with a lot of grief of my own and a lot of regret that I just could not be present because of the circumstances, because of the country that we live in, where it makes everything so difficult to just live.
It brings me back to the very place we started where you talked about intention and manifesting. Because your mom said that, and then your intention shifted, and then
Yeah,
you and things moved. I'm not saying it always works that way. I'm not talking
right.
about magical thinking, but our intention does matter. And when we do intend to be closer to our children and to stay open and to see what's possible, things are possible, because people always go, how am I supposed to not be coercive when I
Oh,
have to get my kid to school, when I have to get to work, when
yeah,
I have, people can't
yeah.
understand. How can you collaborate with your kid when there's these have tos and there's so much pressure? And it is a huge skill set, and it does take
It
time. It takes
takes so
a
much
lot
time
of time. Yeah.
and practice. Like literally, you're building a new skill. It's
Yeah.
practice. It's practice. There's a book that I have somewhere around here. Oh, it's right there. And it's called Switch. And it's about how to literally change your mind and form new
Mm,
habits.
mm,
And what really helped me when I read this book is it's two men and they were just like, when you have to do anything intentionally, your brain becomes angry at that basically. Like when you have to pay attention to something, um, things become harder for you. Your brain wants to be on autopilot. And so after a while, you only have so much, what is it called? The word is escaping me. You only have so much of living intentionally, of acting intentionally, until your brain is like, we're not doing this no more. I'm tired. I'm grumpy. Like, I'm not, it's over. And sometimes we feel that as like conscious parents and people who are trying to do this without a model, we'll be fine. And then we hit a wall and we're just like, we're not fine. And that's because your brain literally is tired. And so it's wild that the things that you need, your brain is just like kind of working against you in that moment. Because what we need is extended patience, extended grace. Your brain can't do it.
I bet when you listen to this podcast, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I could call Rythea Lee. Because that's why I reached out to her in the first place. I was a fan of Rythea's. I watched her TikToks. I wrote her. I said, look, we're going to need to collaborate because I love you and I'm in love with you. And I bet if you're listening to this, you're like, I want Rythea's guidance. I want to directly talk to Rythea too. Well, you can, and you should, because Rythea actually offers 30-minute support sessions with people who need input on stuck places in their parenting. And I can tell you as her friend, I use her all the time via voice notes. And I want you to know that so can you. You just need to go to the link in our show notes to book a mentoring session with Rythea. She offers 30-minute sessions for parents, and she also has a weekly session open at a reduced rate for low-income and BIPOC individuals. So if you could use some of Rythea's clear, confident, loving, connected, supportive, and brilliant advice, then you need to head over to calendly.com/Rythea or Rythea.com. And those links will be in the show notes.
Can we talk more about support? Because you're saying you don't have enough support. So how are you going to get support? I'm just curious. What is your thinking around that?
What I've been trying to do intentionally is connect with people at Gia School that also they have autistic kids, and I've realized I don't just need a support. I need a village that actually understands autism. Um, And having ADHD, that also helps me because a lot of these parents also have ADHD or something. So I've been connecting and talking more with people and just finding the village that I need. And so, like, when I can't, when I'm unable to can, and I just need a break, I'm able to pick up my phone and call one of these ladies and ask them. Like, one of them has a nice backyard. She has two kids, and the house is set up for their autistic children. And she's like, girl, bring Gia on over. It's fine. And so I'll go back, I'll go to pick her up, and Gia's having the time of her life, jumping around the trampoline and playing in the water table, just being able just to be. When she's out with me, I don't have a backyard yet. That's why I'm getting on this land. I'm still in the apartment. And so we're out, and I'm hyper vigilant. You can't touch this. You can't do that. That's what she has to hear from me. She's sick of me. She's sick of she gets so tired of me. But over there, she gets to just run around and play and just be. And that's all I want for her. So I had to find people with sort of like different environments that we live in. And that's what I've been doing, is really being intentional. You have to talk to people if you want to build community. And a lot of folks will push back and be like, well, what if you can't? What if, there's a disability there? Right. I understand that there may be limitations in some capacity for everybody. However, what can you do? Because instead of thinking about what you can't do, which a lot of people, that's their first thing, start thinking about what they can't do. What can you do? One of my biggest supports is someone who I've never met in person. I met Danielle in like my Facebook group, my parenting group, and we became like fast friends. And she's like a sister to me. I've never seen her in person. It's been like 5 years. We've tried
Wow.
to get together, but I can call her phone and like really go off and just be like, this is what I'm feeling right now, and say things that I would never say to anybody else 'cause I don't feel comfortable saying them. But I can say them to her, and she'll listen to me, and she will give me feedback, or she'll just listen and be like, yeah, yeah, it's valid. So I have a
Mm,
few people like that in my life where I can just in the moment just really be myself and say the things that would be hard for anybody else to hear from me, but I have to say them in order to get it out of my system. And then once they're
mhm.
out, and I'll try to like, okay, I'll just be really honest. Sometimes I really hate mothering, hate it.
Yeah.
There, it I would like it more because I told Janelle, she texted me Mother's Day, and I was like, you are such a good mother. You're. I wish I could be more like you. I wish I can like mothering as much as you do. And she was like, you don't like mothering as much as I do because you don't have support. If you have more support, you'd like it more.
Mm,
But it's a lot for one person to do. And you're doing it as a disabled person with a disabled child on
mm,
your own.
mm.
Like, give yourself some credit here. Like, you're doing the best. You're literally doing the best that you can. And so I can call my friends, just be like, motherhood. And they don't make me feel judged because they know I love my daughter. But the act of mothering in the space that I'm in is just very difficult for me. And so having that village is also important. So maybe you can't form an in-person community, but you can have
Right.
that people that you can talk to and really say the things that you're embarrassed or ashamed to say with other people. But you have to talk to somebody. Can't do it
You
alone.
do. You have to talk to somebody.
You gotta talk.
Yolanda, I have a ton of support. I have a partner, right? So, and I have also a co-parent. So there's three
Mhm,
parents. And I have a lot of friends, and I do something called peer counseling, which is a lot like what you just described. It's a
mhm.
space with one other person, you time it, and you're not you don't give advice. You don't try to curb the feelings. You just let the feelings go. Anyway, I have a lot of support, and I still find parenting so hard and so ass kicking. Like I can't even believe it. And I know, I mean, everyone has different reasons, but a big reason for me is because of my childhood. Because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
forced me to have to constantly remember my own childhood.
yeah.
Constantly.
It's triggering.
I can't stand it. It's so
Yeah.
unbearable for me. Even though in the present tense I guess it's okay. It's really hard. It's hard to tell.
And so you're going through all this healing, but then you're just like, this shit is hard. Like, I'm
Yeah.
I'm tired of thinking about this. I don't
Yeah.
want to constantly think about this, but you have to think about it so you can heal through it, so you can work through it. That's always what it is. And like, so I sat yesterday, something just came to me about like why I always felt lonely as a child, a very lonely child. I had two sisters and a mother, but I just felt very lonely. And it just came to me, and I started like writing this text out. My grandmother passed away like, I think it was like 3 weeks ago.
Mm.
And so, or a month or so. And I realized like I was holding on, I held on to a lot of anger and resentment towards her, and actually towards my extended family. It has made me not really connect with them. But
Mm.
I've always needed like a extended, like, elder family, we all kind of need that. I never
We
really had
do.
aunties to, like, give me advice. I felt like I really just had to raise myself and, like, learn everything so hard on my own. I had no older women that's just like, "Nah, baby, don't do that. Don't talk to him. Don't spend your money like that. Don't get that car." Like, I didn't have that, which is why I'm so, like, in my niece's business, because I wanted her to feel like she has that
Mm.
support. But it really just dawned on me, like, I have all these regrets after my grandmother passed about, like, not letting go of some of that resentment and not being closer to her. So I started
Mm.
typing out these texts to all my aunts, crying. And I didn't send it because I'm not ready to send it, but I just had to get it out because I never acknowledged it before. And so you're always like in this space where something happens. I don't know what I was watching, but it triggered that. And I was just like, I don't like this. But I had to get it out. I want to be a grown up now and talk about my feelings and talk about, like, this is why I did the things that I'm doing, and take responsibility for my part, because yes, I felt a certain way as a child, but now I'm about to be 45. Like, we got to grow up here. So
Mm.
yeah, it's a lot when you're healing through and surviving at the same time. It doesn't matter how much support you have, the systems are not supportive, right? The construct of the nuclear family is not inherently supportive. It's just not. If you think about back in the day when people did live in more community minded, like, villages, it wasn't just about going to your neighbor to get a can opener or some sugar. Like, everyone looked out for everyone, including the
Mm.
parents. The mothers looked out for each other, and the kids, everyone was protected and cared for. Everybody wasn't safe, but there was the sense of, I could go to any adult and someone was gonna feed me or be helpful in that moment.
Right.
And what's happened now is, the suburbs happened and everybody moved out, and then capitalism was just like, oh, they need stuff. So let me invent all of these things so that will replace the village. And now it's even worse that we have all these damn apps. We don't have to talk to our neighbors if we never want it.
Right.
You need sugar? You just go on Instacart. Like, you don't have to ever talk to your neighbor if you don't want to.
Right.
And so it's been really my intention to cultivate community wherever I'm at, which is why my neighbor and we took over, like, the beds in front of our apartments. There's like retaining beds that had some really ugly stuff in there. And we didn't ask permission. We just are like, what you gonna do? Kick us out? And we took all the plants out and we planted, like, food, and we started
Mm.
knocking on doors like, do you want us to plant food over here too? And so there's just nine gardening beds, and whenever I go outside, somebody stops me. We're talking about the garden.
Mm.
We are communicating and connecting. I've met more neighbors this year than I have in the previous 3 years living here, because it's like intention. My intention was to cultivate community because it's just so important to me. It's a practice. That's why I'm trying to do it. I want to practice doing it. And so we have to practice it. If we were all to practice community in this very intentional way, how much we could disrupt all these systems, right? Capitalism will be disrupted because we won't need to necessarily depend on the stores, the big box stores, and these corporations anymore. We are trying to we can figure out amongst each other what we can grow or what we could make or, whatever. And we can barter and share. It would be a disruption to the nuclear family, which is patriarchy, because
Right.
we're depending on each other, right? It would be a disruption to white supremacy culture, because the white supremacy culture is just like 12 traits. All of these things will be very disruptive, especially if you include diversity in that. If we started practicing community more, we could disrupt without having to even protest anything. outright.
Mm.
The way that you live would be a protest. You wouldn't have to even say anything. But if whole neighborhoods got together and figured out how to work together, reclaim time, grow food, all these things, so many systems would be impacted by that. But it's a practice. People don't trust each other, and that's by nature. That's the whole point of the media and everything else. So we have to be brave about this, and just starts by saying hi to your neighbor. Hey neighbor. Like I literally say that. Hi neighbor. Sound like Mr. Rogers over here.
I always love, Yolanda, when I talk to you, you always have such vision because it's so hard to hold the vision that things can change after a while. We just get very,
Get
that
my
you see, that's what I love about you. You always see the systems, and so you can see what would need to be different. I really lose sight of that. I do have to say, I started a Facebook group, my own Facebook group, for parents who are doing this, and we're all talking all the time. Everyone, da, 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 da. And like, I don't think you can change your parenting if you don't have something like that. I don't think you
Yeah,
can be a radical parent by yourself. It's
there's no way.
impossible. No.
Well, that's the status quo. What's radical is community, right? Like
Yes.
that's what's radical. So
Yes.
you can't call yourself a radical parent if you are not actively participating in and creating community around you. And so you just have to figure out what that looks like for you, because it looks going to look different. I work for myself. I'm home all the time. Like I can form community because I see people all the damn time. You may be a working parent that has, 8 hours a day, and it's like, where am I going to find the time to garden or whatever? That's why you talk to people, because you don't have to do that. Maybe somebody else is doing that, right? That's why you have to even if you walk to the mailbox and you see somebody, you just wave. Like it really just starts with getting to know your neighbor.
Well, yeah, you're talking about being present in person in real
Yes,
time. But we
real
do
time.
also have the internet in a way that
We do.
never existed before, where you can find people who think like you.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, it's very helpful to people to give you advice, people who's probably going through some of the same things you've gone through, or they've went through them. The internet has been game changing. A lot of my close friends I've met online over the past couple years, and it's been a beautiful thing to form this community online. And I, even with the online community, I've sent people things, so there's still some physicality to it, because I'm just
Yeah.
like Danielle, she was not feeling well, so I like sent her, a gift basket when I had some money, child. But like I want people to also, I think online is great. Preface by saying that. However,
Yeah.
you do need to get local, and not
Yeah.
just with your neighbors, um, with your community at large, and figuring out who are the vendors that you can frequent, who are the people who are growing food or raising meat if you eat it, who are the artisans and the makers and stuff like that. uh, if we want to disrupt this system, then we have to understand what's in our community and what's not in it. And so we can't just sit in front of the computer all the time,
Right.
because we get lost in it. We have to get outside. That's good for you. Go out and get that D, get that vitamin D. Okay. Get the sunshine, because that's going to help your mood in general. But when you go out into the community, you're able to, this could be actually have, I was going to do a fundraiser. I created a community mapping like workbook for parents and children to do in their neighborhoods together.
Mm.
I was gonna put it out for as a fundraiser, because I'm trying to buy an RV for my property. So, but the whole point is that you and your child, if they are able to go around, drive around, or walk around, whatever is best, and figure out like where's the places that can replace the big box stores, if that's available. Who are the government officials? Like having knowledge of your community. Then you can be like, what's not in it? What do we need to change? What can I help change?
Yeah.
Who does need the help? Where are the shelters at? The churches that do open their doors to the houseless people. Who are those people? They exist in your community, right? We don't know because we don't want to know. A lot of us are addicted to the computer screen, myself included, okay? And we need to unplug a little bit and get outside and seriously touch grass because it's going to make you feel better. And if it feels good to know what's happening in your community and to know that you can help be a change for it as well. And that's radical to me, especially when you invite your kids to participate with you.
Do you think of yourself as a I don't know if you like the term non-coercion or a collaborative parent. Like, what do you call it?
Oh, um, just consider myself a conscious parent, to be honest with you.
Conscious parent.
Yeah, so it's difficult over here because, Gia's speaking more, but she doesn't speak a whole lot. She does have a developmental delay. She's autistic, but she also has a developmental delay.
Mm,
And so there's things she just does not understand. She doesn't understand safety. So she's an eloper. She doesn't understand cars will kill her, that she can't run in the street. And so
wow.
the way that I parent is just going to be different than the way that you parent because I can't always ask. I have to tell because she doesn't understand the ask. I can't say, "Can you get out the street, please?" It has to be get out the street
Yeah.
because she doesn't understand if I'm not being like very firm, she doesn't get it. And so I don't this is why I struggle because I don't have the support because she's also still a 7-year-old. 7-year-olds are coming into their own. Puberty hormones are starting to flood in. They're not all the way into puberty, but it's starting. They're
Uh-huh.
prepubescent. And so she's doing a lot of looking at me and doing the thing I'm telling her not to do lately. And it's a lot. What I think of myself as a conscious parent, because I have to be conscious of me. I have to be always cognizant of how I'm reacting to the things that she's doing. And I'm conscious of the fact that I'm not gentle. And I want to be, but I wasn't raised that way. My environment was never that way. Gentleness was not ever modeled to me. And so I'm working to be gentle, but I'm not a gentle parent. I don't even know what the hell that means, to be honest with you, in today's context. I don't relate to it, and I don't think that it's helpful in a lot of the terms because I don't want necessarily to raise a gentle child. I want, this is controversial, but sometimes violence is warranted, not towards children, but towards systems and sometimes towards people that want to get in your face. So I don't want to necessarily raise a gentle child. I want her to be conscious as well, and to know when to be gentle and when to be firm. And so for me, my particular parenting journey is me learning to control myself, learning how I show up with all my stuff, with how I'm living and how I'm reacting. So that's a constant and it's very tiring. By 9 o'clock, I'm done.
Yolanda, that is so perfect and profound what you're saying. I'm just really taking that in. I love that. I love that framework.
You just got to know yourself. And I feel like we want to name things and I name myself a conscious parent, but I don't want to ever there's times where I have to be coercive. And I'm just being honest about that because I have to get her to do things that she doesn't know that she has to do because she doesn't understand. Right. So I don't want to be manipulative, which sometimes coercion can fall into that. But I have to figure out ways to get her to like brush her teeth in ways that are, sometimes unorthodox, or I have to teach her things that a lot of kids her age already know and understand. Um, and I don't have a model for this. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time,
Yeah.
which is why part of my village is her teachers and therapists. Because when I meet with them, I let them know, like, this is what I'm struggling with at home. Can you help? And they always are like, of course, we can definitely help. We can help her learn how to brush her teeth we can help with toilet training. Like, it's very supportive,
Mm.
the environment that she's in. And I'm
Oh,
very
so
grateful
great.
for it.
Well, what I really like about the conscious parenting framework, like it's versus my framework, which the non-coercion collaborative thing, which is great. That's a
This is
whole other
great.
thing. But
Yeah.
what I like about the conscious parenting, the way you said it, is I just have to say that I'm a loving parent and I also suck. This is called Your Kids Don't Suck. I also suck. A lot of the ways that I suck is not my fault. And um what my kid is always showing me the areas that I'm limited. And she shows me, like, whenever I think things are going great, then we hit the next level of her development, and there we are. But something that she tells me a lot is, Mom, she'll say, you're so needy. You're so
Mm,
needy. You're always pulling on me. And that is a problem of mine. You know,
yeah,
I had a mom who was withdrawn, and I was always pulling on her for love and attention. And when I feel insecure, that's what I do. And when I feel like I'm losing someone, I pull on them. That's my pattern and one of my strategies. And I feel so glad that my daughter can say that.
yes.
And I can't stop doing it. It's also one of my superpowers. I bring people together. I have a ton of close friends. I'm a puller. I pull, like, yay, I'm great at it. It's also very wounded. And so to be a conscious parent is to be just trying to witness my strategies with love.
Yeah,
I am really pulley and needy. I have good reasons for being pulley and needy. I might not be more like the yelling person. I'm more the pulley, needy, whiny person.
hmm,
And I can't change that all at once. I developed this whole way to survive my whole life. I can't suddenly be a not pulley
right.
person. So all I can do is own it. When she says it, I go, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm going to go try to contain
Yeah.
myself.
And just also learn to ask for consent. It's like I'm feeling away. I'm feeling some things. Can I get a hug? It's like you don't have to stop being you. That's who you are. And
Mm.
but it's just kind of like now like I probably have to ask her before I get really needy.
So I don't always know I'm doing it. So I've
That's what I
given
was
her,
gonna say. That's where
yeah.
that's where learning how to be more in your own body, which you're very good at still. Like you're very because you are a movement person. And so I think that has been so helpful. I'm still learning how to be like in my body and feel all the things and know when I'm being activated. This is all a practice. And you knowing like you owning that and your daughter feeling comfortable to tell you that is like ginormous. It's huge. And I love that y'all have that relationship. I really hope that my stuff hasn't prohibited G and I from having a close relationship when she's a teenager because that's when they're just like, leave me alone. A lot of them. I get touched out so fast, like quickly.
Mm, mm,
And she'll reach out to me sometimes. I'm just like this because I literally cannot touch me
yeah,
right now. And I know it hurts her feelings sometimes.
mm,
And so, when I do try my best when I'm not feeling that way to be highly affectionate, but I know it's probably confusing for her. Like, who is this
mm,
person in this moment,
mm,
in the next? But I
right.
don't know how else to do it because I have to also honor the fact that in this moment you can't touch me. In this moment I'm feeling away and I can't push past it. There's some times where I can push past and just like, okay, you can sit on my lap. But other times I can't do it. And I wish that it wasn't that way, and I know it hurts. I just don't know what else I can do because she doesn't understand. Like if I tell her like mama's touched out, she's gonna be like, the hell is like, I don't care. Good luck. Have fun.
Right. It's like it's how littler kids are, and she's still like that.
Still like developmentally sometimes like a littler kid. So it's a lot. And but to your point, just being conscious of that's I didn't grow up in a very affectionate household. And I happen to have a very, very, very affectionate child. So it is a lot for me all the time to have someone who wants to live inside my skin. Like if she could push herself back up in me, she probably would do that. I'm
Yeah.
like, girl, I need space. And
Yeah.
so it's all hard to navigate because we are having to heal from all the stuff while we're trying not to traumatize our kids, which we know that we probably have in some way.
I
And that's been
definitely have.
oh yeah, we all have. And that's been a big thing too. Just really just being just having that knowledge. Like we are not ending all the generational trauma in our bloodline. We can't. And that is a lot of responsibility to put on yourself.
Mm, mm,
There's so much, it's unrealistic, it's dehumanizing, it's not gonna happen. There will be something that you do where your child is gonna feel like you didn't do good enough in this area. And you're gonna have to be okay with that. And I've had to really sit with that and just be like, I have to be okay with the fact that Gia is gonna resent me in certain aspects of how she grew up. There's nothing I can do about that. I can just try to be a better person every day, but I can't control how she's feeling about something. I can't. I can't control if she's happy, which is why one of my goals is not, I want to make my child happy. It's just not. I have no control over that. There are parents who are doing all they can to make their children happy, and their children are miserable. Because
I'm
you
one
have
of those
no
people.
control over that.
I
You have
I know.
you have no control. That's their emotions. You have no control over that. What I say is I want I want to be happy. Like I want to be have a life filled with joy and ease and calm. I want this is a big vision around the whole farm is moving more slow, having more calm and ease and being in nature. Because if I'm doing that, I can model this sort of way of being, and hopefully because I'm happy she's happy, but I can't control it. All I can do is control me and how I'm feeling about a given situation.
I wonder if we could each both say something about sort of bringing it around what like the focus, which I feel like we covered, was the understanding that how we are authoritarian and in our home
Yeah,
relates directly to
directly.
the system that we are living in, which you said we've always been living in, that has become very, very clear that we're living in. You can't lie about it anymore. It's happening. And to really toggle between why would you want to become a conscious parent?
Yeah, I can be more explicit. And so the way that we parent can either help our children live a more liberated life or make our children like follow these oppressive leaders. So I posted on TikTok a really explicit, I think you saw it, where I was telling people like the way that Donald Trump talks to people is how a lot of parents speak to their children. And I think once we start looking at the fact that he is a model for a lot of oppressive households, that patriarchal father who is harsh and judgmental and sarcastic and doesn't care. A lot of people grew up that way, which is why a lot of those people call him Daddy Trump. That's their daddy
Yeah.
because he literally is a representation of how they grew up. It feels absolutely to have a bigoted, racist father figure who says whatever the heck he wants and doesn't feel like he has any consequences. A lot of people grew up like that.
I
And
did. I
you know what
did.
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so it feels familiar. And that's what
Definitely.
we want to fight against. We want to fight against that familiarity of abuse feeling familiar, right? And so that's what we are fighting against is how we raise our children. Do we want them to grow up and find home and people and systems that are abusive because that's what they know, that's what they hear. That's what you've modeled. Like I said before, we're either raising abusers or people who will be victims of abuse if we continue on as a collective being abusive towards our children, being coercive, being people who are completely indoctrinated into a carceral mindset of punishment all the time. We have to start looking into the way these systems are infiltrating our families and start to ask questions. Is this actually serving my goal? And what is your goal? You have to understand your why. Why are you even wanting to parent this way? And really start to dig into not just your childhood, but the systems that created your childhood. Because I'm sure that if you went back a few generations in your family, this is that treatment that you got, your mother probably got something similar and her mother before her. And I know when I did that, it was a light bulb to me like, oh, this is a cycle, right? This is a cycle that I need to break. United States has not broken the cycle, never hasn't even tried to. And anytime there has been progress, it gets burned down. You have to understand why, right? The rewarding of bad parenting is because it is so much easier to control people when they are used to being controlled. It is so much easier to tell people how they should think and feel and act when they're used to someone telling them how to think and feel and act. A lot of us have been indoctrinated into fascism from a very, very young age by our parents and by the school system and by jobs after that, where we are used to control. And so now that we're faced with this in your face, like an administration that basically is just like, yeah, we said we were going to do this. You didn't believe us. What? Because they wrote it all out for everybody. They said what they were going to do, and they're actually doing it. And so everybody's now like, oh, we're cooked. We're surprised. We've been cooked because y'all don't listen. Y'all are not listening and believing people for who they are. This is the father who never apologizes.
Mm.
It's the parent that when you tell them, like, hey, you hurt me, they start talking about themselves and how it was the best they could do. And they never apologize. That's
Right.
what we're seeing just in real time. And so we just have to be careful about normalizing control and abuse in our homes.
Yolanda, thank you so much for being here. It's so good to see you and hear you.
Thanks for having me. And thanks for this podcast. I think you're doing great work here, and a lot of people are benefiting from digging into doing this work, especially right now. It's voices like yours are needed now more than ever.
Thank you for saying that. Okay, so where should people find you?
You can still sign up for my newsletter. Just go to parentingdecolonized.com, and there's like a little banner on top where you can get a freebie. And then I do have a Patreon that I would love for you to sign up for, and it does help me continue the work that I'm doing specifically for this farm, which is not just a personal project, it is a community project as well. And I am documenting this whole farm process. If you want to check me out on YouTube, it's called Wild and Free Family Farm, where I'm documenting this process of becoming a farmer.
I want to follow that.
Yeah, I'll see you
All
there.
right, send it along, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And let's be in
Thank you.
touch.
Of course. Bye, y'all.
This has been Your Kids Don't Suck. You can find me, Kara Tedstone, at www.karatedstonetherapy.com and on Instagram at Kara Tedstone Therapy. On my website, you'll find links to recommended readings and a link to my Reparenting with Mindfulness workbook, available now on Amazon.
You can find me, Rythea Lee, at www.rythea.com. That's RYTHEA.com. There you'll find published books, articles, and music, and parenting videos. Also, I'm on TikTok at Rythea Lee, on Instagram at Rythea Lee. You can book parent mentoring sessions with me through my website. And also I have an Advice from a Loving Bitch YouTube show that helps people heal self-hatred, and that's rythea.com/advice. It is important and essential to put our voices, Rythea and Kara, in a context. We are two white, cisgendered, straight, middle-class women living with financial and societal privilege. Because of this, our perspectives are limited and do not reflect the realities of all of our listeners. This podcast will feature guests with expertise around conscious parenting who differ in race, class, abilities, sexual orientation, and histories from us, to broaden the conversation and reflect the lives of as many people as possible. 25% of the proceeds of this podcast will go to creators of color who have been mentors and influences on our work and in our growth as parents.
If you like our show, please subscribe and stay tuned for more conscious parenting advice and insights. And check out our link tree at linktr.ee/yourkidsdon'tsuck to donate and connect with us.
Kids don't suck anything that's sweet.